Good morning, everyone, and welcome to my Presence of Light talk show here on Humanity Healing. I'm Charlie Riverman Bergeron, and I live in the United States on the East Coast in what's called southwestern Maine. And today's talk is about accessing our truth, which originally started out in my notes as speaking truth. However, I felt it was deeper than just speaking our truth. We first have to access it. So hopefully I have, looks like 16 people showing up, and hopefully you can hear me. I'm not seeing any comments, but with my computer, it doesn't always agree with what I want to appear. As many of you know, the world of technology can be a bit fickle at times, and so I'm just playing with it. So it looks like I've got a thumbs up somewhere, so that means somebody's here. Humanity Healing. So Leonie, thank you for being present and acknowledging that I exist here. And thank you for the opportunity to share on Humanity Healing what comes through my heart and also through my mind and my mouth. It's an honor and a privilege to be part of this worldwide community as each of us seek to find solutions within ourselves as to how to embrace life more fully and more cohesively with all of nature and each other. And that's kind of what this show or this talk is really about this morning. When I arose, I don't plan my talks. I usually, the week in between presents itself with enough issues for me to speak about. And so what happens is right now, planet Earth is reaching sort of a critical place. And all of us as human inhabitants have led up to what I would consider a global crisis. And if we don't access the truth within ourselves and start speaking and acting in accordance with that, then it's just going to go into the next phase, which is not likely to be very kind to humanity as a whole. And so this is what I started to remember this morning as I wanted to, and I wrote my notes, and in my blog you can read those when I post it. So what happens is most of us live in somewhat of a dream state, and we're awakened during crises. And in that moment of crisis, the mind begins to search what's going on, what's really happening, where is the truth, and how do I access that? And so we're continually looking outside of ourselves for the truth. And good morning to each of you. Thank you. We can hear me? Good. Thank you from New York City. Good evening. Yes, from India. Blessings. And thank you. So truth for all of us has an ability to manifest thought forms that are not truthful. And when we look around the world, we see those who are our leaders are lying. And this is not an accusation. This is a truth. When they're speaking in lies and they're getting away with it. You and I, when we don't speak the truth, there is always a repercussion within ourselves, because somewhere along the line we know that we didn't speak the truth. And yet the mind allowed us to do this. So here is where the truth really exists. And in essence, it can't be accessed from outside of us. Truth, this statement I wrote this morning is really the core key here. Truth is an eternal mystery. Okay, it's always a mystery. We don't know what it is, and we can't search for it. We can only allow it to come through us. Now, that may sound preposterous, but what happens is when we sit in meditation or we sit in stillness, the thoughts that arise from our hearts are more accurately the truth than the ones we're receiving from outside of us and the world around us. And this is how we, as human beings, can be led by other people, because they speak to our mind. They're not speaking to our hearts. In the mind is always calculating. It's always receiving information, and it's always compacting it, comparing it, and then storing it in what we call our memory. So our memory is really a wonderful asset and a good basis for, a place of storing information. But information is not necessarily truth. So it's our hearts, and you'll hear me talk about our hearts and living through our hearts and being powerful. This is where it comes to the comment I made of practicing unlimitedness, because it's in our hearts where we practice unlimitedness. And that was triggered by a bumper sticker that I wrote, and I actually produced this in 1996. My wonderful guides had me produce a series of bumper stickers. And this, as I say, 1996. So this is 20 years ago, or 22 years ago. And that was a profound one. And somebody found that on my Facebook page and asked if they could share it. And I said, perfectly. And I said, it's amazing how 20 years ago, I was still on this quest for finding the truth. So it's nothing new. Most of us, our whole lives, have spent probably a majority of the hours of our existence trying to figure out the truth. And that's the message today. Don't try to figure out the truth. Come to a place of stillness within yourself and allow that truth to rise and come through you. Because it's now the time where we need to speak the truth. We need to act in truth. So as we move through this, we realize that we have been asleep in somewhat of a field of dreams and promises which are never realized due to a ruling minority. We're told and promised, and a lot of things are, happening and saying, oh, well, this is for the good of the whole, and this is good, and that's good. And when we look at what the devastation in the world around us, planet Earth is not in a very good shape, and this is where we live. What's the solution? So that solution is truth. Coming to that place within our hearts where we recognize that if you drink poison, you will die. That's the truth. If you don't have air to breathe that's not toxic, you will die. If you don't have food to eat that doesn't contain contaminants or bacteria, you will die. This is the truth. It's very blatant. It's very obvious. Yet we've been programmed to think, oh no, they'll take care of this. They'll fix this. This is just temporary, or this is such and such and such and such and such and such. It's time now for us to not only recognize the truth in what is being said to us, or recognize the non-truth in what's being said to us and fed to us, and start to speak the truth from within our hearts and gather together to change and create a solution for the whole of humanity. That's what I love about this program, Humanity Healing. How do we heal humanity? And it's not just healing it on a psychological level or healing it on a spiritual level. How do we heal humanity on a physical level? And the answer goes back again, within our own hearts. And we need to come up with a collective solution. But before we can reach that collective solution, we have to come to an individual solution. What are you going to do? What are you going to speak? What are you going to allow to enter into your mind and have it received as information, as truth? You know, we have everything's fake news and fake everything. It's almost redundant now. It's become a joke. And this is what happens. This is how people control other people. They put them in a place of distress, and then they make them laugh at it. It's an old game. This is nothing new. And they make a joke out of it. Oh, well, it's not as bad as you think, blah, blah, blah. And you just dismiss it, and then we'll give you a new toy to play with. We'll give you a new cell phone, or we'll give you a new computer, or we'll give you a new car, or whatever. We'll create some technology, something to distract you from looking at the price you're really paying for that object. Because the price that you're paying is your life. And I don't mean to be negative. I just mean to speak my truth. And this is, I said in my Facebook thing, this is my truth. This is what's coming through from my heart. And all I can ask each of you to do is to look within your own hearts. Drop out of your minds and drop into your heart and say, if I take these two, where's the disagreement? Where is the confusion? And learn to trust your heart. So that's primarily what this, my talk is about this morning, is dropping into your hearts to learn and remember, actually remember more than learn, but for some of us, it's a learning process, that we are unlimited beings. That we were created with far more energy and far more capacity to create abundance and wholeness than we've been allowed, or we've allowed ourselves to do. And it's okay. Don't beat yourself up. The opportunity is now. And I pulled a card. It's called Change. It's one of my cosmic cards here. And it says, Change is a permanent law of the universe. I am blessed by Source to make my change for the better. And this is where truth comes in, is I see myself as a work in progress. I accept divine help in all areas of my life. God is the guardian of my soul. I am guided and empowered as I act for my higher good. I will recreate a new day and focus on a new dream. As I change my mind, I am then able to change my life. And while that's written in the singular regarding us, as we do that, each one of us do that individually, we change the collective. The collective of humanity has to change if all the individuals within that collective change. And that's how truth, in the end, becomes an expression rather than an object. So the mind objectifies truth, and the heart lives it and speaks it fluently. It's a language. What does it look like? Well, there were some interesting readings this morning as I prepared for this, and one was from Sandra Walter, who is she works with, for some this may sound a bit woo-woo, but she's a gatekeeper and a grid worker, and works with the energy of the universe and the stars and the galaxies and the earth, and in bringing them into alignment. I do some of this work myself as what I call a grid worker. However, the message that she brought through was about speaking from your higher truth. And that higher truth is that God self, that Christ consciousness, however you want to look at your Atman source, the highest level of your awareness at this moment. And it changes as the more truth we speak, the greater the access, or the higher the access we have. And she wrote this: speak from your higher truth. Show up as your higher self in all situations. An activated heart has more influence on collective outcomes. Your words, thoughts, and actions create and support realities. Use them wisely. Deny distorted creations, any energetic amplification. Remember the so it is and keep your intentions on track. So part of it is the power of intention. And allow your power of intention to be fed from your heart. Activate your heart. Drop into your heart. Know the truth in your heart. Become less fearful of expressing that. But ever since we were little children, when we tried to express things from our heart, we were told, oh, that's crazy. Or, no, that's not right. No, you have to do it this way. You can't do it that way. You may feel like that, but that doesn't work in this world. We've been denied our truth since we were children. And when we expressed it, many of us were reprimanded severely. Some of us were beaten. Some of us were left alone in rooms for hours because we were speaking our truth. And so in our memory, this brain has stored that information about truth. And we've become unconsciously programmed to fear speaking our truth. It's so insane. And when we look around the world, what do we see? Everybody's, lying. The leaders are lying. There are people who we're putting their faith and trust in our medical professions, our security, everybody, and they just lie in order to cover whatever it is they're doing so that nobody looks at it. And that's what happened to us when we were children. When we were children, we saw the truth. We saw our parents. We saw our families. We saw their dysfunction. We recorded every single instant of it, whether you remember it or not. And it is played out in our lives so that we are far less than who we could be. And as a result, in this collective world of citizens of Earth, doesn't matter where you are on this planet, they keep saying 8.5 billion of us. Doesn't matter whether you're in Africa or you're in India, you're in Alaska, you're in Finland, it does not matter where you are. We need to come back to looking at the truth within us and to stop being fearful of expressing it. How do we do that? We renounce hatred. We address anger. We look at anger when anger comes up within us, and we look at the truth. Where does that anger come from? Where is it really? Where did that begin? Fear. We look at our fear. Right now, I'm telling people that fear no longer has its power. Fear has ruled for so long and has been a very powerful force in controlling humanity. Okay, it's been a tool that other people have used to disempower us, and it's lost its strength. It cannot maintain its strength in the amount of light that each of us are now generating and bringing through, because we want something better. We want something better for our children. We want something better for ourselves. And we realize that fear can't match the power or the desire for that which is beneficial to everyone. It's impossible. And so the last one in this sort of group of words was pride, ego. Let's let go of our egos and just say, hey, I'm just another person in a spirit in a physical body here on this planet, sharing with each of you. I'm not any better. I'm not smarter. I don't have any degrees. And even if I did, what do they mean? They mean that I've taken time to study something. As you can see in that bumper sticker, Practice Unlimited this has been a 22-year journey. Those were the messages that were given to me through my heart, not through my mind. Those which I call my guides, or angels, or teachers, masters and teachers. They don't speak to me through my ears. They speak to me through my heart. And I know they're speaking the truth, because when I embrace that, as I said, the truth comes to us in the stillness. It's clearly visible. My issue and all of our issue is, how do we work with that? How do we put that to work? And that's where we're at. Right now we're on a threshold, an exciting threshold for the evolution of humanity, where some of us may personally not get as dramatic an effect as we would like to see or like to have, but we're preparing the way for the future generations of humanity. And if we don't do it, there's nobody else. This is it. We're the ones who chose to be here during this time of change, of great change. As the card says, it's the permanent law of the universe. And right now it's time for humanity to change and shift and grow and expand into something far more beautiful than our human mind has ever been able to conceive. We renounce hatred, we renounce anger, we renounce fear, we renounce pride, and we learn to love and respect each other. It's not all that hard, even the ones who have hurt us. I'll share a personal story. I'm running out of time here, but a personal story. This past week was my daughter's 50th birthday. My daughter has not talked to me in 25 to 30 years. And she made this choice because of a divorce, a very, very nasty, nasty divorce, which put me into bankruptcy, alcoholism, homelessness, and because the pain was so unbearable that I just wanted to die. And eventually I got my wish. I did die. I died in a motorcycle accident and I came back. And when I look back on this past week, I said, you know, I have to look at the truth here. What is the truth? I've been lying to myself and blaming myself and guilting myself for all these years. And the truth was, I was perpetrated against as a child. I got married when I was 17 or 18 years old to a woman who was 9 years older than me and shouldn't have even been messing around with me, basically. What did I know as a 17-year-old child? All I wanted was love. And that has caused all of that trauma and pain in my life. And so the truth is, this past week I spoke the truth to myself for the first time. And I said, I was a victim. I was victimized. I hold nothing against my ex-wife. I have nothing holding against my daughter. If either one of them entered my life right now and wanted to have a good relationship with me one-on-one in truth, I would open my heart and welcome them. That's not the truth from here. That's the truth from here. And that's what I learned this week, was truth is not what I thought it was. It wasn't something that came to me through this ability to sort and judge. It came through compassion. It came through love. It came through respect. It came through honoring not only others, but primarily myself. And so this week, I want you to look into your hearts and let the soul lead, not the ego. Open yourselves to your soul, or as I call it, source of unconditional love. And truly learn to love yourself. And in doing that, you are helping yourself understand what truth is and where it comes from. And then go help others. Part of my talks, that's my service, is to help others. This is why I'm here, is to to help all of us, not only you, myself, understand what it is that's happening and what I need to address. And as each one of us do that, we start this ripple effect. It's the drop in the water, and it's the ripple effect, and it'll ripple out. And people will change. And so when we recognize the truth in our hearts, not in our minds, it is the purpose of our minds to seek information and compare its energetic expression, to catalog it for future reference. But in our hearts, it exists unattached to anything. It exists because truth is an aspect of that, of creation. There are no lies in creation. And it's only our minds that overwrite information and create conflict in our memories. And there was a quote this week that came up that I wrote, posted on my page before, but I just, it was Neil Gaiman, and he's written a book about the future of humanity, or on some level, I'm not too sure what it is, but I love this quote by him, and it stuck with me, and I'm going to leave this with you. We have an obligation to make things beautiful, not to leave the world uglier than we found it, not to empty the oceans, not to leave our problems for the next generation. We have an obligation to clean up after ourselves and not leave our children with a world we've short-sightedly messed up, shortchanged, and crippled. And that quote led me to speak today about the truth. If we don't quickly learn what the truth within us is, we're going to do exactly the opposite of what Neil is asking us not to do. So I bless you, I love you, I thank you, and I respect each and every one of you, wherever you are and whatever you're doing, because I know the truth in your heart is the same truth in my heart. It comes from one source, the source that created us all. Doesn't matter how you look at that, how you believe in that, just know that the more we come close to that energy of our hearts and the truth that it expresses, we begin to practice unlimitedness. So to get out there, raise a fuss, or do it quietly, whatever you choose, but learn to speak your truth and not fear what others might think or what others might do. Discern when it's appropriate, of course, and just do it respectfully, not just to others, but respectfully to yourself. You're beautiful souls. I love you. I thank you. Have a blessed week. It's been a joy to be here with you once again. I love to read the comments at the end. I can't do it while I'm talking, and I apologize for that, but the apology is not the truth. I apologize only to send you love and respect. I choose not to, and I can't because it conflicts with my brain pattern. It has nothing to do with you. And with that, I'm complete. Blessings, blessings, blessings. I love you. I thank you. I respect you. May each of you have an amazing week, because you're amazingly unlimited beings. Bye-bye.